how this works. I'm going to start with a question of my own and give you guys a few minutes to collect your thoughts and think of some good questions for this great group of people. And then we'll talk, and then that's how we'll roll. So I've known these guys for a really long time, and if you don't know how they work, both David and David are constantly making films and different projects and on each other's projects and sometimes off of each other's projects, but they know each other quite well. And it's an incredibly intimate movie, and it's an incredibly intimate feel, I think, that you guys have on set. Can you talk a little bit about where such an intimate story came from and how you decided to do it, and then how you approached it, you sort of practically, considering that it's such intimate material, and how you guys work together?
Okay. Well, the film started in two ways, I think. First of all, I lived at home and was helping my mom take care of my dad for a year, about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. And he and I began tape recording, video tape recording and audio recording the conversations we would have, and I would just film him doing things around the house. I had no idea what I would use the footage for, but I found it somewhat compelling, but it didn't seem to have any structure on its own, so I wasn't sure what to do with it. And kind of simultaneously, I had been working on a script about a young guy who goes on a kind of vision quest, and David and I had collaborated on a couple of short projects, and we were very interested in, I guess, what we would call mystical things, or strange kind of unexplainable experiences that we'd had. So neither of those projects were really going anywhere on their own, and I thought having my actual father become part of the fictional world that I was working on would be interesting and kind of provide a nice context for the story I was trying to tell. And then immediately after I decided to go forward with that, I thought Dave would be great to play the son, to play Pincus, because everybody seems to think we look alike, although we've never could figure that out. Some people think we're the same person. So I asked him if he would do it. I knew my family would be very comfortable with him around for a few weeks, and I knew he would fit right in. But yeah, I'll let you tell you.
Yeah, I mean, so much of, I think, of the job of a director, which they don't really teach in film school, is just kind of setting a tone. And a lot of that work was done just with the way that you chose the project that would be working with the actual family in your house, and basically everyone was kind of a member of the extended family. And but beyond that, I mean, there's just a strange sort of alchemy, I guess, that Dave's really good at, with kind of gently massaging the material over a pretty long period, because as Dave mentioned, there was a short film we directed together, created together, I guess would be a better word, that dealt with a lot of the same subject matter, and we kind of kept this ongoing conversation about these things. And then he would start sending me scraps, pieces of the script and the story, and just different ideas. And then, Phil, you got involved at that level too, kind of talking a little bit about, how to structure it as a story and all that sort of stuff. And so by the time we got on set, we had a really good outline, but we kind of kept changing it. And then Dave continued to sort of labor over it, and he's really takes his time to kind of to have it just kind of, I guess, materialize this, or an organic. He doesn't know what he's doing, is what I'm trying to say. It's a miracle we're here. That's what's so funny. He says that kind of stuff all the time, and Mary, you'll agree with me. He's really self-deprecating, but he does know what he's doing. Although I doubt him all the time. And then, he's delivered us here. He's just very sly, but he never shies away from going back and throwing stuff out and going back and shooting something or repurposing something we've already shot. And so Yeah, it's weird. I haven't seen the movie yet until tonight, and I thought it was incredibly moving, and I just see Dave's fingerprints all over it, and maybe Phil, you can speak to that as well.
Dave's fingerprints? They're all over me too. I've known Dave since I was 7 years old, and our parents are on the PTA together. I'm frequently his landlord. I'm pretty sure he's wearing my shirt right now. And definitely he's wearing my pants. So Dave and I we were like childhood friends, our families know each other a very long time, and then when Dave came out to Cal Arts, he introduced me to a whole group of friends and a whole approach to filmmaking that was really foreign to me. I make dick joke movies and sometimes cartoons for children, and so it was very. I've always been kind of jealous of these guys and the mode in which they work, and because David and I have been able to spend a lot of time together since he moved to LA, we've been able to have this kind of running dialogue between our two kind of modes of filmmaking. And I don't take this the wrong way, but I think David had a lot to do with 21 Jump Street, the movie I made this year, and we had a lot of conversations about our respective films, and they weirdly informed one another in ways that probably only you would see, or maybe you don't see it. I really don't mean to disparage your work by comparing it to mine. But what I really what Nordstrom was alluding to is that Dave's films are all investigations, and I think this really was something that continually changed as you thought more about it and as you shot things. And I must have seen 10 different cuts, all with different endings, and that's very much an important part of your process and any filmmaker's process. And I think that it's not that you don't know what you're doing, it's that you're really dedicated to the process of investigation. Thanks, guys.
Questions?
Because you shot it in such a handheld style, how much of it was the whole thing scripted?
That's the last we went to high school and college together, and graduate school together. And we all went to school together. There was a script, and all the scenes were laid out, but there was no dialogue in the script. There were kind of ideas for what people might say, which really was only for David. Nobody else, I think, really saw the script, and nobody else had any dialogue. Occasionally I would ask my dad to repeat a line back, to move the story forward or something like that. And he's amazing. If you just give him a line reading, he'll just like spit it right back, and it sounds completely natural. I don't know how he does that. But yes, there was no dialogue, but there was a full script with more or less every scene that's in the movie kind of in there. There was some other footage that made its way in there. And there was some documentary footage, like at the end, when David is or Pincus is asking my dad what he thinks. He asked him what happens when you die or something. That was an interview I did with my dad, and I just did a reverse angle on David, so it looked like he was in the scene. But so there is some actual documentary footage that sort of slipped in there. So that stuff wasn't in the script, because I had it all before they wrote the script.
Yeah. How long did you hang out with Dave's dad before you shot the film? Did you have a long time where you guys keep on a relationship, or how did that work? Did you guys hear that?
She asked in a nutshell that how long I had with Paul before we started filming. Not much time at all, really. I mean, we kind of started shooting the day after I got to Miami, and a couple times, yeah, but he wasn't, as advanced with Parkinson's as he was when, It was interesting. I mean, it was yeah, we kind of jumped right into it, and it was challenging in a sense, but on the other hand, it was like there's nothing like that to kind of root you in the script. It wasn't like you had to sit around with another actor and bullshit for a while to get comfortable. I mean, he was more or less totally comfortable. He was very, resigned to this whole process that David inflicted on him, and he, again, watching the movie, it was funny to be reminded of so many things, and one of the huge things I experienced was just how much humor this guy has. He's just very funny, and so we connected over that, but a lot of the time I was the butt of his jokes. But that worked too, because there was a certain, I always thought that one of the more interesting aspects of the scenario was kind of this weird antagonism between the two, and so I had to get over this hump of kind of speaking to him bluntly about stuff, and at times I think he was kind of, how's this guy? Kind of maybe thought I was taking liberties, but it was kind of, I was protected by the project and by Dave, and so it was kind of fun, and after a while he got into the spirit of it. And so did I.
One, I have to say thank you so much for taking us on this journey with you. It's such a wonderful movie to watch, and everybody who played their characters so well. I mean, they were so true to us. I wanted to know, where did the Stevie character come from, and how did he get put into this movie? And I think that really put it all together.
Yeah, Dietmar is amazing. My friend Gavin, who is like basically another producer on the film, he gave us like he has a contracting company in Miami, and he gave us like all these locations in the car, and like would bring us lunch, and we'd be shooting on his locations. And he was doing a project, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, and I came to visit the job site. I actually worked for him for a little bit, so maybe I was working for him at the time, and I saw there was like a closet with a sleeping bag and a candle and like a stack of books, and it was all like classic literature, like Dostoevsky and stuff. It's like, dude, who's living in this closet reading these like amazing books? And he's like, oh, that's Dietmar, you gotta meet him, he's awesome. And he's like, he rode his bike from Ohio down here at some point, and like he was in prison in Afghanistan once for trying to, well, I know what, but I'm not going to say. And then I met Dietmar shortly after that, and he's amazing. I've never met anyone like him in my entire life, and unfortunately he passed away a few months ago. He had cancer, so we found out about 4 months after we finished filming. So yeah, we would love for him to be with us doing this. He got to see the film. Yeah. He said he really enjoyed it. So, but yeah, and that character, is Dietmar. I mean, there's some changes, but he was also like, I don't know, so lucky. Like, he was amazing. And I knew he was an amazing person, but I was shocked at how good he was at improvising, and he had like this incredible rapport with David right away. They kind of were like friends immediately, loved each other. So,
One question, how's Paul?
Thank the question was how's Paul. Unfortunately, he's a lot worse now than he was in the film, and he can't travel. We did have a screening for him in Miami at a great old art house theater there, and all his friends and family came, and that was great. So he got to see the film. But yeah, fortunately, it's a crappy disease and just gets worse all the time. So he's not doing great these days, but he's excited about the movie, and he still jokes around all the time, so yeah, but thanks for asking. How did I decide on the ending? Well, yeah, like Phil said, that was not the ending in the script, and I discovered this strange thing when I was editing, that I could rearrange almost any scene in the movie in almost any order, which either means I'm a genius or a terrible writer or did something wrong, or I don't know what it means. It's probably a bad sign, actually. But yeah, so I just had all this freedom to like explore different endings and stuff. You may notice some weird continuity things, but yeah, I tried a number of different endings, and none of them felt quite right until I actually showed the movie to some people one day, and they were like, "You should end it in a hole." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a terrible idea." And then, like 3 weeks later, I think I tried. I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll try it," and I just tried it out, and it felt okay. And then as I kind of tinkered with it, the problem with rearranging a scene is every time I rearrange one, it would kind of throw everything out of whack, and I had to spend a bunch of time getting everything back together. But yeah, it seemed like it felt like the right place after a while, and so yeah, I guess I just owe that to all the tons of people watched this while I was making it and gave me great feedback.
This is more towards Phil. How did you feel about producing a film that has not structureless but less structured than the normal?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what's it like for the first time working on a movie whose success depends on its artistic merits? It's weird. The truth is that I have tremendous faith in Dave as a filmmaker. I fell in love with his work when he was working at CalArts. He made this amazing film called Trona, and I watched it over and over again. It showed here a million years ago, and I gave him money once to make a short, and it was an hour-long short called Wood. He screened the half-hour cut, but the producer's cut is still an hour. And I just really love his work. So it was really an act of faith, just saying, I believe in you and what you're doing, and I really only gave feedback, I don't know, 7 or 8 times, stuff when you were writing, and then looking at cuts and giving notes and stuff. But it was really, I just felt grateful to be included in something like that.
Yeah, and Phil's movies are artful too. He's like the most self-deprecating. People wouldn't like it if they weren't artful. So.
We're going to actually have a self-deprecation contest after the movie in the beer tent, if anyone wants to join.
I think we could take a couple more, right? Are we good? Okay, good. I'm sorry if I'm ignoring anybody in the back. You're in the back and you have a question. Wait real hard. Okay, so right there, you know.
I was kind of thinking about how the process of what you're doing. I love the inspiration of like the exploration of that in the film, but then all also things to be able to in your contact.
Looks like you did it.
Okay.
Do you want to repeat the question?
I'll try to repeat the question. Toonie was asking about the integration of the music in the film and the real sound in the film. Yeah. Initially, I had tried something with taking some of the production sound that Dave recorded and making music out of that, but that didn't really work. There's still some of that at the end. But the process for me, I think, sort of reflects Dave's nature of working with it and trying new things and being willing to throw things out and just find what works. You know, no, not at all. I loved it. Yeah, I think a challenge for me was to try to stay out of the way of the production sound and all the noises going on, atmospheric stuff, because that feels just as important as the music, I think.
Anybody else? I'm gonna slip in one last one of my own, which is as much as the sound is really so much part of things, so is Miami. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about Miami as a character in the film. And then after that, we can all go out there, go all the way down the hall where the big step and repeat is, take some pictures, and you guys can keep talking. How's that? Good? Okay, Miami.
Okay, Miami.
Every single one.
But before Miami, I will say it was really amazing working with John. I paid him peanuts, and he did so much work on this, and he made the most beautiful score. And I was basically like, I've sat with this for a month, and you got to take out all the instruments, the like recognizable instruments. And I would, and he was like, "That's totally cool. I get it. You've got to study work." Like, he was so understanding that like. For me, it's hard to know what the music will feel like until I see it, and I know it's a lot of effort to produce the iteration. So it was it was an amazing collaboration. It was so fun and painless and inspiring. So thanks a lot, man. Okay, Miami. I grew up in Miami. I lived there till I was 17, and then I left, and I don't think I had a very high opinion of that city when I left, and I had never planned to come back. But life's funny that way. I mean, I always went back to visit my parents, and that was enjoyable. But I ended up going back for the first time for a long stretch about 4 years ago, and I kind of fell in love with it for the maybe first time. I mean, I always fished growing up, and I always appreciated sort of the natural aspects of the city, but and there are still a lot of things I'm not crazy about in Miami, but and it's always hard somewhere you grew up to you just take everything cool there for granted, and you just look at the lame stuff and focus on that. But I think it's a town, it's a city that is changing for the better a lot these days. It was hard. The little town Coconut Grove that I grew up in was like this bohemian, sleepy village when I was a kid, and it turned into like this mega tourist trap with 2 shopping malls and stuff. So it seemed like everything I would love in the city would slowly get like eradicated. All the beautiful homes on the street would be bulldozed into some like mega thing, like the one in the movie, the yellow ones actually at the end of the street. And it's just, no one I think has ever really lived in there. It's just like fallen into ruin. But yeah, there's incredible natural beauty there. When I have people come visit me and they've never been anywhere tropical, they kind of go crazy about the flora and fauna that are there. And there is this kind of mysterious, wonderful quality about that city that I didn't recognize until recently. So hopefully some of that stuff comes through in the film, because it's as much a portrait about that place and the people that I know there. And I mean, it's a place where I know all those people. The only exception is Chris, who actually lives out here in Los Angeles and is a psychic. So if you ever have the need for her services, I think, well, I'll put the link on Facebook and all that.
We didn't really talk about that, but that whole, I think one of your ideas was to go in there just cold, and I mean, I had stuff planted that we were supposed to talk about, but it was kind of remarkable how much she started hitting upon everything we talked about and the film was about. It's really cool. Yeah, I'd recommend her.
And for you, when these guys approached you, did you really know what you were getting into? Did you foresee it?
Not really. I mean, I had just met David a few times, and I really liked him. And he said to me, I think it was after the first time you came to me, and you said, "Do you mind if I come back and bring a friend and, film you giving her a reading?" And I said, "No, that would be fine, because I liked you. I knew it wasn't going to be something, that would not be good for me." And then you said, "Well, I'm making this movie." And I thought, great, my husband's a filmmaker. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm not an actor. I've never been trained as one. And it was just really fun. You're really, really easy to work with, and it was really fun to work with you as well, because it was calm. It was easygoing. Yeah, no pressure. So.
All right, thank you guys so much.